I'm not supposed to be here.
Please get vaccinated. If you know someone who's not vaccinated, find a way to convince them to get vaccinated. Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. People are needlessly dying because of your misinformation. Think about it. I don't know how some of you sleep at night who are doing this for a living. Please get vaccinated if you know someone.
Okay, look, let's preface this with a number of things. When I first saw that, I did not know what that AH's name was, and I asked as much on Twitter. I mean, I knew I've seen his face around. It's Chuck Todd, MSNBC. I saw this video, and it immediately triggered, and triggered in the meaningful sense, not triggered in the snow. It immediately sparked a sense of rage in me that is very difficult to explain. I'm generally speaking not an angry person. I thought it was fake. Like, I thought it had to be CGI. The quality is very, very rough. Like, it's a recording of a recording. I thought it was fake. I don't know the broader context of whatever diatribe Chuck Todd was in when he gave that finger-wagging piece of medical instructions. It's enraging, and I just have to go through it a little bit, section by section.
Please get vaccinated. If you know someone who's not vaccinated, find a way to convince them to get vaccinated. Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated.
First of all, he looks like Woogie from There's Something About Mary. I'm going to show you Woogie in a second if nobody remembers that. Woogie from There's Something About Mary. Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated. Well, my goodness, A, that was never true to begin with. And B, my goodness, is that medical misinformation? Chuck Todd, do you get deplatformed? Do you get unpersoned? Do you get canceled? Do you get labeled as disinformation, misinformation? Hell no, because you're MSNBC. What was it? It was Rachel Maddow. It literally, you get the vaccine and it literally blocks the vote. Literally, and he's using literally, not in the Rachel Maddow literally Russian propaganda. He's using literally, I presume. Or he's not. Who the hell knows? It's MSNBC.
And for those of you...
Finger-wagging bastard. Oh, sorry, by the way. There will be swearing today. And no, it won't be gin or alcohol related. It's 11 o'clock. There will be swearing today, even though there are children's ears behind the doors. I've told them to put the earmuffs on for the better part of this morning's episode. Finger-wagging bastard.
Please get vaccinated.
Oh, and
if you
crying.
know someone who's not vaccinated,
he's so emotional.
Find a way to convince them to get vaccinated.
Find a way to convince someone else what to do with their body. I'm going to tell you that I had to change the thumbnail for this episode, and I'll show you the original. Maybe I'll show the original in our locals part afterwards. I had to change the thumbnail because it was too mean even for me.
Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated.
That's wrong.
And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you.
Huh, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Shame on you. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on...
I want to grab that finger and just like, I just cracked my knuckle 3 times. You know the old expression? When you point a finger, there are 3 pointing right back at you and a thumb pointing in a general direction, but a thumb is not a finger, it's a phalange, I think, if I'm remembering a Crash Test Dummies song properly. 3 pointing right back at you, Chuck Todd, you scum of the earth.
Ooh. Shame on you.
Shame on you.
People are needlessly dying because of your misinformation.
Oh, really, Chuck Todd? I bet you there's a number of vaccine-injured people who'd like to have a word with you now. Oh, look at that. Righteous, self-righteous, arrogant, pompous piece of human garbage. That's what the original thumbnail said, human garbage. Thought that was too mean. I had to change it to banality of evil.
Think about it. I don't know how some of you sleep at night who are doing this for a living.
Oh, I don't know how some of you sleep at night who are doing this for a living. Do I look pale? No. I've opened up the... Look, my studio is doubling as a there's a hide-a-bed in the couch, and we've got so many guests for Thanksgiving week. My daughter's got 3 best friends down from north of the border. My son's got 1 best friend. We've got our best family friend. Holy crab apples! This house is filled with love, joy, the occasional hissy fit, and so on and so forth. People are dying because of your misinformation. Oh, Chuck Todd, I don't want to say gleefully. If there's any justice in the world, the likes of Chuck Todd, Rachel Maddow, all other paid pharma whores and shills will be sued for the damages of the unsolicited medical advice they gave to others. I don't know how you sleep at night. I don't sleep particularly well at night. I've never slept particularly well at night. But I'll tell you one thing. I hope you, Chuck Todd, are sleeping on a big bed of cash, because may that be worth your soul that you have sold. Now, why did we start with that? Hold on, let me just I just gotta show you what it's. This was the original thumbnail from my amazing thumbnail guy, DSLR Dave. I don't want to close down my whole stream. DSLR Dave. I met him in Quebec. He reached out to me after one of my episodes on whether or not it was false advertisement that ginger ale contained ginger. He's the best thumbnail guy in the world. I text him the picture. I say, here's the text that I'd love in the thumbnail. Create something magical. And he did. But I looked at it and I said, that was too mean. It was too mean even for me. Not human garbage, okay? I had to change it to the banality of evil. Do you remember, I don't know if any of you have ever watched Fight Club with the audio commentary of the director on, and there's a scene where after Brad Pitt and Helena Bonham Carter consummate love and marriage, she says something terrible after their exchange of sex, and the version that made it into the final release of the movie actually was a second version that replaced the original thing that she said. And the original thing that she said was apparently too offensive for the censors. And so they replaced it with the line that's in the movie, I haven't been like that since, whatever. Which is exponentially worse than what the original one that was offensive was. And so I do wonder, human garbage, not very nice to say, although it's true. But the banality of evil, the thumbnail that we ultimately went with, I think is even more impactful. Semi-human garbage. So, anyhow, just atrocious. And Chuck Todd, in fairness to Chuck, he's not the only one. There's a montage of these demonic, self-righteous bastards willing to sacrifice other people's bodies, lives, safety for their own sense of self-righteousness or for their own pocketbooks. I don't know how some of you sleep at night doing this for a living. Says the guy who receives big pharma bucks to push that line of medical disinformation. Oh, hashtag no medical advice, legal advice, or election fortification advice. But I think it's safe to say now that when Chuck Todd said literally the only people dying are the unvaccinated, I don't know how somebody was wrong. Factually, medically, scientifically incorrect. Okay. On the menu, we are going to get to Ireland later in this episode. But before we get there even, in line with that, it was not announced in my lineup for the stuff, but it's a meandering thought process to make sense of the world. You have Chuck Todd, who the hell knows when that was, 2021? Wagging his finger, shaming the unvaccinated, blaming them for death, hashtag confession through projection. The news of the day, by the way, coming out of New York? Yes, coming out of New York. Letitia James appealed a lower court decision that declared unconstitutional some of the quarantine laws or the lockdown laws that they enacted as relates to COVID. A lower court struck it down as unconstitutional. And then the appeals court, when is this? Is just from yesterday or the day before? November 21st. There was an appeal of the lower court dismissing some of the COVID legislation, lockdown laws, and call them laws, whatever the hell you want to call them. The lower court declared them as unconstitutional. And the Court of Appeals conveniently came and said, well, the petitioners had no standing to challenge the laws in the first place, so overturned. And it's just interesting that we're seeing all of this in real time now, in conjunction with what's being reported as a spread of a mysterious virus coming out of China. I mean, it's a joke, but it's not funny. It's a sad, sick, twisted joke. It's Alex Jones, his premise. They have the same move and they use it over and over again. 2024, If we don't get bogged down in martial law from World War III or an attack on American soil that makes voting at polling stations too unsafe, well, let's just go throw back to the mystery virus that's running rage and rampant through China, resulting in hospitalizations. The amazing thing is it's a mysterious lung virus with no inflammation and no coughing. I don't know what the hell that means, but so all of that in conjunction with Hochul's administration wins appeal in lawsuit over quarantine orders. A decision in a lawsuit over New York's COVID-19 quarantine regulations has been overturned. After oral arguments ended last September, the New York Supreme Court Appellate Division ruled that state's Commissioner of Health is allowed to issue quarantine orders to control the disease. According to the document, the plaintiffs lacked standing. Let me quote that for the podcast listeners. Like Barnes says, it's not ripe. It's what does he say? It goes from not ripe to latches. So not ripe to moot to whatever it is. They'll get you on standing. They will not recognize your standing to take lawsuits. They'll overturn it when they determine that the ultimate outcome, well, we don't like that outcome, and we can't deal with it on the merits of the declaration that the laws were unconstitutional. So let's just say that the people who got the lower court to declare that lacked standing. According to the document, the plaintiffs, quote, lacked standing, end quote, in their complaint that the quarantine regulations overstepped the separations of powers. And then we don't need to really get further into it. It's just amazing how it all seems to be coming together again at the same time. The decision comes after a lawsuit was filed against Kathy Hochul, the same woman who was pushing the jibby jab, by the way, for children 6 months and older. I know it sounds young. I know it sounds young to be sticking experimentals in the veins of 6-month-old children, but do it. I know it sounds young, but that's what they're telling us to do. It really went from we were just following orders in the Nazi era to we were just following orders of the medical experts in the current era. History doesn't repeat, but it tends to rhyme. Oh, okay. The plaintiffs, including Senator George Borrello, argue that the regulation impedes individual liberty and oversteps the separation of powers. The plaintiffs won the lawsuit against the Hochul administration, but New York Attorney General Letitia James, when she's not persecuting Trump, she's coming after your individual rights and liberties, people, in the name of science and in the name of Big Pharma. Oh, okay, fine. That's it. That's all we need. So we got the same. We're not going through that. I think Gouveia did a very thorough breakdown of this. Robert Gouveia, Watching the Watchers, amazing guy, amazing law analyst, talking dude. Full statement of the plaintiffs. We are deeply disappointed in the appellate's division ruling in favor of the Hochul administration. Yada, yada, yada. The court did not address the merits of the case, which were outlined by Judge Plates, that's probably Plates, in his original decision. Instead, they shamefully reversed and dismissed the case on a technicality, claiming that we, the petitioners, somehow lacked standing to bring the case in the first place. We strongly agree with the ruling and are concerned with the widespread implication of this erroneous decision. They have paved the way for Hochul and the Department of Health to reissue this heinous rule with a capital R, but they have set a precedent to preclude citizens from rightfully challenging government overreach today, and they've effectively, unconstitutionally empowered the executive branch to overreach into policymaking, which is a decision that could open the door to further abuse of power. In light of Governor Hochul's other overreaches into the daily lives of New Yorkers, including her effort to ban gas stoves for the environment, her housing plan that would eliminate local zoning, and her excessive mask mandates on children, to name a few, our concerns are well warranted. This has been a, quote, David versus Goliath fight from the beginning on many levels. Not surprising that the state, with its limitless resources, has effectuated a win this round. We will never stop fighting New Yorkers against government overreach, and so we will be appealing this calamitous decision to the Court of Appeals, our state's highest court, which is a court of constitutional integrity. And we are just lost the end of that sentence. Confident justice for New Yorkers. Okay. That's amazing. As far as I'm concerned, anybody under the sun has the standing to challenge something that might get them locked up anywhere at any time for willy-nilly reasons. So while we have Chuck Todd finger-wagging, shaming those unvaccinated bastards who have blood on their hands, you got Hochul regaining the right to issue rules that can result in arbitrary detention of people under the guise of COVID, which we had in Canada, by the way. Like, we had where the hell am I looking? We had government designated quarantine facilities. They were called GDQF in the lawsuits. We had government designated quarantine facilities. They converted hotels that were empty because the world was shut down. They converted undesignated, unspecified hotels into government designated quarantine facilities where they then whisked people off from airports, other locations for arbitrary, indefinite detention. There were stories of assaults of sexual natures at some of these government-designated quarantine facilities. People were locked in rooms for 2 weeks at a time sometimes. Oh, and then they had to pay for it under certain circumstances. Some people were not allowed to consult attorneys before being whisked off to these undesignated locations, unspecified locations. Other people weren't allowed to tell their spouses where they were being whisked off. There was a case, and I forget her name all the time in Canada, of a woman. She was a gospel singer. Whisked off to a government-designated quarantine facility, not allowed to tell her husband where she was going. And our courts declared it totally constitutional. No violation there. There was a itty-bitty little constitutional violation when you weren't allowed to get legal advice or consult counsel before being whisked off. But the government-designated quarantine facilities and being arbitrarily detained there did not violate our rights, our charter rights, according to a federal court in Canada. What trickles down, people, you should be paying very, very sharp attention to. Okay, good morning, everybody. It's still morning. I had to start this one early because, okay, my wife wakes me up. First of all, she wakes me up to feed the dog at 5:10 this morning because the dog, Pudge, is now, she doesn't have her room. She's got like the laundry room now. She's still whining at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's like, I say prison, like I hear, and then I go to the freezer, half asleep, get a frozen puck of beef out, open the door a crack, slap her food in there, drops on the ground, she eats it, I go back to bed. Then my wife wakes me up and says, the kids want to experience again Black Friday in America. It's like going to an amusement park. So they got out at 5:30 in the morning. I haven't seen them yet. We've got a couple of kids here, but when they come back, all hell is going to break loose in the house. So I had to start this one early. What do we have on the menu? We're going to talk Ireland, what's going on in Ireland, how the media frames everything. You know, the problem is not the problem. The problem is the reaction to the problem. That's how the media frames everything. Apply that mutatis mutandis to all crises in the world. The problem is not the original wrong. The problem is the response of the general population to the wrong that was the initial cause of the initial wrong. We're going to talk about Ireland. We are going to just touch a little bit on the recent developments of a ceasefire in Israel with Hamas. According to some, a ceasefire that lasted all of 15 minutes. But I'm going to highlight the reason to focus on these things and to watch what you tweet is that you cannot rely on anything anymore. You can't rely on original reports, initial reports. You can't rely on revised reports because the initial reports are going to be sketchy because details are coming in. The revised reports are going to be sketchy because details have come in. And so you have to literally piece together the initial reports with the revised reports with as much source material as you can find in order not to come to the truth, but in order to come to as close to the truth as humanly possible in an era where you cannot believe things that you see with your own eyes. And then, we're going to talk about the fun stuff. Judge Engelron, the DC case is appealing the gag order. I think they're appealing the stay of the gag order. Either way, the DC case is referencing the threats that Judge Engelron, the New York nipple judge, they're citing the alleged threats that he was getting in New York to argue for the reinstatement of a gag on Trump. And when you read through the document, it is... So first of all, everybody, let me just I won't do a poll. Do I look pale? I don't think I look pale. It might just be the lighting. I've got the window open, so I'm getting like actual sunlight in here, not just the white floodlight. I've done the standard disclaimers. For those of you who are new to the channel, I've been doing push-ups, 100 push-ups and 100 curls after my morning jog, but My parents said I look skinny, but I don't know if that's just because we haven't seen each other in a little while. New York Nipple Judge. That is his name. New York Nipple. Get your nipple on with Engoron. That's hashtag bonus. What was it called? Hold on. Only rely on ex-Montreal or ex-active lawyer with Sassoon hair. Oh, yeah, I'm no longer... Oh, God, it's weird. I no longer practice law. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so those of you who don't know who I am. Former Montreal litigator turned Florida rumbler. And we start on YouTube, Rumble, and on our beautiful above-average community, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. In about 10 minutes after I cover one more story on YouTube, we're going to go over to the free speech platform. That is Rumble. I love Rumble. They deserve our eyes. They deserve our dollars. They deserve our attention. And they will grow. And they, hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully one day we will speak of YouTube the way we speak of MySpace. And we will speak of Rumble the way we spoke of YouTube. Let that thing sink in there. So we're going to end in 10 minutes, go over to Rumble. After we're done with the full stream on Rumble, end that, go over for a little exclusive on vivabarneslaw.locals.com. To end the stream, I probably should, because I'm stupid and not always smart about showing this stuff. Oh, before we get into our second story of the day, vivafrei.com. If you want to get some merch, you might not want to walk around with a shirt that says Viva Frei, but you might, who knows? You can go to vivafrei.com and you can get Populism Fixes Everything, which is a response to our Politics Ruins Everything line of merch. You got Wanted for President, all the other good stuff. If you want to support the channel, you can get some merch, or you can go to vivabarneslaw.locals.com. $7 a month, $70 a year for a ton of exclusive stuff, although you just can be a member, a non-supporting member, and get tons of good stuff in our wonderful community there. Hold on a second. How dare you, Chuck Todd? Oh, Mr. Buttons, thank you very much. Okay, let me just see what we have in the lineup. There was something that fit in with the story of the day. We're going to get to the... No, maybe we're going to do the Dublin riots here. Okay, let's do this here. So the story of the day is that there are far-right riots in the streets of Ireland. And again now, details are coming in. You have to pay attention to the details that are coming in and be skeptical of them, but you also have to pay attention to and be skeptical of the details that are not coming in. You know, when there are certain, and I'm not saying this was a racially motivated crime. We don't know what it was yet. Well, I think there's strong indications of what it was, but you always have to weigh your words, and I'll show you why in a second. When there is the slightest indication of a narrative fitting racially motivated crime, there's an immediate release of information. There's an immediate framing of the narrative as relates to the media covering of the story. And it's relentless. And even if or when it is disproven, that narrative will long live beyond its having been disproven. Sometimes when there's a strong reluctance to identify suspects, when there's a strong initial reflex to blame others or blame a response while conveniently, specifically, or deliberately omitting certain key details, you need to be skeptical of that as well. And I genuinely believe, as we'll talk about with the Canadian border explosion before heading over to Nipple Judge Engoron on Rumble, I also genuinely believe that sometimes details are not released, specifically so the public goes wild with speculation. I believe this. Call me whatever you want. I don't care anymore. Out of Ireland, you gotta read the articles. They're framing a far-right riot in Ireland subsequent to an apparent knife attack that left, I want to read it. I don't want to misframe it. After a knife attack, injured 5, including 3 children. I will read from the article. I forget which article it was, but it doesn't matter. Protesters and rioters clashed with police officers, and a police vehicle was set ablaze in Dublin, Ireland, Thursday evening, after a knife attack that injured 5, including 3 children. It's an amazing thing. A knife attack injured people. When there's a shooting or a violent assault that they can frame into a narrative, if they don't specifically identify the person, they don't abstractify the incident and just refer to it as a gun attack, a car attack, a knife attack. It was a man who attacked, and they'll fill in the blanks with racially charged motivating factors in their mind. When it's inconvenient to do so, when the story might run contrary to certain narratives that, desirable narratives, for lack of a better word, it becomes passive. Do you remember when, I don't remember his name and I don't care to remember his name, in Waukesha, plowed his car into a crowd, killing I forget how many people. And the way it was framed was like a vehicle just, what's the word? Was possessed. A vehicle ran into a crowd. A knife attack left people injured. It's like there's no human agency behind it. There's no human behind it. It's just like a possessed knife, a possessed car flying through and causing havoc. And you got to be very, very skeptical and very suspicious when you start reading articles framed like that. Come back to the article. According to Irish media outlets RT accent aigu, rioters attacked Gardaí, officers of the... So now, the focus is on rioters responding to a knife attack that injured 5, including 3 children. Interesting. Authorities said more than 400 officers, including many in riot gear, were deployed to contain the unrest, which they blamed on a, quote, small group of thugs. Can you imagine? You're in the wake now of a knife attack that left 5 people injured, including 3 kids, and the blame is on people violently rioting, or taking to the streets to protest what they understand to be the problem. Now, there might be scapegoating, there might be disinformation, they might be responding to details of the story that don't exist, haven't been released yet, or are factually incorrect. You don't know. But you can strongly suspect by the way the media is running hard cover for the alleged assailant, or running hard cover to blame the response on the classic far-right extremism, you can surmise what's going on here. And I just had to opine. It's an amazing thing that, it's Chief Wiggum out of The Simpsons over and over again. The law is, what did he say? The law is useless to help you, not hurt you. Marge Simpson said to Chief Wiggum, "You said the law was helpless to save me." "Oh, I said it couldn't help you. I didn't say it couldn't hurt you." So the Irish police can mobilize en masse to stop the response to a stabbing, but they can't mobilize en masse to make sure the streets are safe from knife attacks that leave people injured. My goodness, that's interesting. Why won't they identify the stabber? Again, this is the UK, and there are apparently unwritten policy rules that we noticed with the that skater guy, Petgrave. They wouldn't. Did they identify him yet? A man has been arrested charged with manslaughter in connection with the death of the hockey player Johnson, but they can't identify him. Well, because we don't know who the hell they're talking about. And I looked into it, and from what I understand, it's not law, it's police policy. There are exceptions, one of which I presume should be when everybody on earth saw what happened and knows who you're talking about. They won't identify the suspect here. Who knows why? And why are they attacking it? Why are they referring to it as a knife attack then? It's just the passive things. The knife went crazy. Apparently, from early reports, or at least people on the street, or at least people who are in the know, it's an Algerian, I don't know if illegal immigrant, legal immigrant, migrant, I don't know. But that is what the problem is here. That is what people are not specifying is the problem, that apparently, according to early reports, or at least reports that are not being suppressed, twisted, politically tailored to meet a narrative, apparently the attacker might be an Algerian migrant, immigrant, whatever. And what you see boiling up on the streets is Irish frustration with a problem that they have been identifying for years now, as has the rest of Europe, that is now coming to compromise the safety of the very people who were objecting to certain government policy that they felt was leaving them safe, had left them, leaving them unsafe, had left them unsafe, and might have resulted in this. But now you got to go. So you got to get your news sources from everywhere when you're doing this. So I go to Al Jazeera to see what Al Jazeera is reporting about this. Now, read everything with skepticism, and for all things that are holy, listen to my words with the requisite degree of skepticism. The one thing you can rest assured about at all times is that I will do my best and that I am honest. Now, I can't say that for other outlets that I read, and so you'll read certain outlets knowing that they are propaganda for certain regimes, that they have certain biases, overt. That doesn't mean you can't gain any useless doesn't mean you cannot gain any useful information from their otherwise partisan reporting. So go to Al Jazeera, see what Al Jazeera has to say about this. Dublin riots. What we know about the stabbing attack and clashes in Ireland. Violence breaks out in central Dublin after a knife attack injures children near school. Same passive framing. There's no agency. There's no human behind it. It's a knife attack. It's a car attack. It's an explosion. Okay. Protesters in Dublin fought with police, torched vehicles, and looted shops on Thursday after three... By the way, you might want to go look at the videos of the looters. You might want to see what that looks like. It's interesting that it's all pooled together here in one sort of group action. It might not be one group involved in all three of those things, or at least one distinct group. Go check that out. You might want to look at those videos. Al Jazeera. So protesters fought with police, torched vehicles, and looted shops on Thursday after 3 children were injured in a knife attack outside of a school. Here's what happened. 3 children were among 5 people injured on Thursday in a knife attack outside Gael School, Colasmere. I'm not trying to be funny. That's Gaelic, and I can't read it. Gael School, Colasmere, a school for primary-age children. They said it happened. A man in his 50s, okay, attacked a number of people shortly after 1:30 Greenwich, what is that? Well, GMT. On Thursday, members of the public intervened at an early stage of the attack. Some brave people out there. The man suspected of being behind the attack was also injured and is under arrest. The police said they do not suspect the involvement of anyone else. That's great. Nobody's been identified yet. According to local reports, the attack happened as pupils emerged from the school. Could be a disgruntled father. Could be could be totally random. Could be something else. After the attack, listen to this. So you go. After the attack, violent unrest broke out just around 1800 whatever that GMT stands for, when a group of 50 anti-immigrant protesters briefly broke through a police barrier. What can you surmise from this? There was an attack at a school, after school, or when school's coming to an end. 4 hours later, local people, anti-immigrant protesters, start rioting. It's one of two things. Either the protesters know that because they live on the streets, they're there, they know what happened, that it was an immigrant who did this. Maybe their response is still unjustified, but they know that it was an immigrant who did this, and they're protesting that, or it's just some violent anti-immigrant groups looking for an excuse. Or there's disinformation, the rumors spread, and anti-immigrant groups started protesting. There's those 3 possibilities. Police blamed far-right agitators for starting the violence. I'm sorry, I thought I just heard that there was a knife attack that left 5 people, including 3 children, injured. But they're blaming far-right because the violence doesn't include the knife attack, right? The violence only includes the protests. Some shouted, "Get them out," and one kicked the wing mirror off a police car. Oh, won't someone think of the police vehicles? Vehicles were set alight and shops were looted. Police deployed more than 400, yada, yada. Ireland's police chief on Friday said 34 people were arrested. Of those, 32 will be appearing before courts this morning. I wonder if they're going to name those. Who was attacked? A 5-year-old girl was seriously hurt. A 5-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl sustained less serious wounds. Boy's been discharged. A woman in her 30s was seriously injured. In a video statement on social media, Chief Superintendent Patrick McMenamin said some members of the police force were attacked and assaulted, but there were no serious reports. Superintendent Liam Garrity confirmed reports of a knife was used in the attack, but said he couldn't provide more details. Okay. Who was behind the attack in Dublin? A lunatic. Who was behind the attack in Dublin? Police said the unrest. Can you believe the framing of this? Sorry, I thought they meant the attack on the children, not the riots, not the response to that attack. Police said the unrest was driven by a lunatic hooligan faction driven by far-right ideology and warned against misinformation. You know what the solution to misinformation is? Releasing the bloody information. Who was the alleged attacker? It's very easy to either quell those concerns or to provide the information which, though true, might not support the response of those protests. It's very easy. But all that to say, fog of war. You have to be careful what you're tweeting, what you're retweeting, and what you're believing. You can form a belief that will be wrong, and it's going to be a lot harder to undo that belief in your own ego than it would be just to say, here, all of the things that are possible, give me additional information to eliminate the possibilities. Oh. And the best example of that, I mean, moving off there, we'll see what the details are, but I know what I believe. I know what I think. I know that there are other possibilities. It could be a deranged, unhinged individual who has nothing to do. It could be a traditional Irish last name, and in which case everyone's going to say, well, then the response was displaced to this incident, but represents another broader underlying social problem. May be true. The name could be a migrant, immigrant, foreigner, totally unrelated to any sort of motivated attack that will that will explain the response, though not justify it. Or it could, in fact, be exactly what the response of those rioters is motivated by. We'll see. Oh, now hold on one second. But though, when I was talking about being careful as to what you tweet out, when I was on the Unusual Suspects on Wednesday. Hold on a second. Hopefully I published this video. When I was on the Unusual Suspects on Wednesday with Vinny Oshana, and we were talking about the breaking news of Wednesday, and it was an alleged terrorist attack at the border. Oh, hold on one second. I hear somebody. It was an alleged terror attack at the border of Canada. People saying we're under attack, shut the border. And when we went on live at 3:30, I'm like, oh my goodness, people. Some people are saying it's a terror attack heading to New York for the Macy's Thanksgiving parade. Others are saying the car was going from the States to Canada. Others were saying there were explosive found in the car. Others were saying no explosives. It was just a car accident. I'd like to say that being, circumspect, mildly skeptical, is the best thing. And look, not to toot my own horn, but I'm gonna.
Some late-breaking news. The Rainbow Bridge car explosion. There was a car that blew up in New York. Apparently, allegedly, the reports, what do we say?
Say apparently, allegedly.
Well, because the reports have been now that it was a terrorist attack, confirmed, according to Fox News. Allegedly, the car was going up to Canada. Other reports have the car going from Canada to the States.
Yeah.
A report now just said it might not have been, or at least a report Andy No on Twitter said it might not have been. This is as of, 3:30 this afternoon.
Yeah.
So 16 minutes ago, Andy No was saying it might not even be a terrorist attack. It could have been somebody just driving recklessly and crashed their car.
But we
didn't say that.
So we have to always carefully use our words. So it's a possible attempted, maybe terror.
You could tell I had been discussing with Vinny before we went live. I was like, possibly, maybe an alleged potential terror. Okay, here.
Terrorist attack because New York. Go ahead.
It might not have
be.
been an explosion. It might have been a Tesla battery.
You never know.
Don't want to get sued by Elon. But
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: the car ended up being a Bentley, but we'll get there.
Late breaking.
Oh no, I don't want to start from there.
To stop going after January 6 people, so they did this, which is crazy.
By Elon. But
Yeah. So, but from what they're reporting, it exploded at a checkpoint on Niagara Falls, connecting U.S. and Canada, killing 2 occupants. The FBI is investigating the blast. I'm shocked they had time to stop going after January 6 people, so they did this, which is crazy. The car was heading into the U.S. This is the New York Post, by the way. Hit a barrier near the checkpoint around 11:15 a.m. on the Rainbow Bridge, breaking into several pieces. The 2 occupants were killed. They're not identified, and one of the border patrol agents was injured as well. And the car was allegedly going 100 miles an hour when it crashed.
That's a bad sign. Now, Fox News had reported explosives were in the vehicle at the time. The 2 who were in the car are dead.
So Fox News reported explosives were in the vehicle, were identified in the vehicle. And they've also called the 2024 election for Arizona.
Sources told sources. The vehicle was driving from the U.S. to Canada and were attempting to drive toward the border.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe they're turning around.
So who knows?
Who knows? is a word that we should use more often before retweeting information that might be disinformation that might itself cause panic. Because apparently, let me just see if I can find the article here. Then we're going to get to some super chats. Then we're going to move over. Do I have the article about the Rainbow Bridge explosion? Here we go. This is now, at least information is in. This was updated 17 minutes ago. It wasn't a Tesla, it was a Bentley. And I don't want to make light of the fact that 2 people died in this. I mean, I posted the slow-mo it was a Dukes of Hazzard level car crash. Rainbow Bridge explosion, possible cause revealed. Unidentified New York man and his wife's Bentley may have suffered mechanical failure as it approached the Niagara Falls crossing. Man, I'll tell you what, I drove somewhere with my dad yesterday in our Jeep, and he was like, this car doesn't feel safe. I was like, this car is awesome. A Bentley. Yeah, spend all that money on a Bentley, and then it malfunctions to I don't know what kind of malfunction can result in that, but smart cars, I mean, I like smart cars, but I don't know that was a smart car issue. Cause of Wednesday's explosion remains something of a mystery, with investigators now probing whether a mechanical failure could be to blame. Hochul, for whatever her word is worth, has now said no indication of terrorism. Let's see here. The mayor of Niagara Falls told the New York Times that the Bentley the couple was driving was an older model and may have experienced some sort of mechanical glitch that caused it to suddenly accelerate as it approached the border checkpoint. I would go with medical emergency of the driver, heart attack, some sort of, I don't know, seizure that causes him to accelerate. I would go with that over, I don't know, what kind of technical failure can cause your car to accelerate to 100 miles an hour where you wouldn't jack the parking brake to slow it down? I don't even know if that would work, actually. Dramatic footage captured the edit. The blast instantly sparked fears of a terrorist attack, but New York Governor Kathy Hochul and the FBI, for whatever they can do trusted for, said no sign of terrorist activity. Instead, law enforcement sources told CNN that the victims were a local New York man and his wife, who have not been named, who were planning to attend a KISS concert in Canada on Wednesday night. The gig was canceled, and so they stopped by the Seneca Niagara Resort and Casino before the vehicle made the ill-fated trip towards the border crossing. Well, I gotta tell you something. Everyone who posted something wildly panic-inducing, you can't take that back. And I do wonder if some people are going to say, "Oh, it was parody, it was satire. I didn't really mean it literally." It's a big problem when you actually. I think those types of things are discrediting in a meaningful sense, and that's why people should just wait. I mean, you don't need to be being first and wrong is useless. Being second and wrong, but less wrong, is also useless. Being third, fourth, and fifth, but being right, or at least being accurate, priceless. Write that down. Okay, the link to Rumble is there. Before we head over there, I'm going to do these super chats. We got this one. Joaquin Learned, I hope you didn't mean to do 3 of these, but thank you. And then we got Joaquin. Stop. Okay. If you want to do the support, thank you. I'm gonna go look for comments because maybe you're having trouble putting in a comment that you wanted to put in. I'm gonna go look in the chat. He's from North Africa. They won't release the last name. Says Melkor. I haven't seen that. I've been Googling, refreshing, and looking at sources. When it's confirmed, I'm not a journalist. I'm an analyst. I'm a commentator. Now I do want to get the Rumble rants before we go over to the Rumbles. There's only one, so it'll be easy. Let's see here. Besides everything else, I want to... Hold on. Skip and freeze. Okay, there you go. Besides everything else, I want to know if you like jelly or whole cranberries. It's an argument every year. I don't like turkey. And I don't like cranberries at all. What I love are capers. Capers on everything. Okay, we're going to remove that. So that is the intro. A little longer than normal. We're going to go to come over to Rumble. We're going to talk about a New York nipple judge, Engeron, the alleged threats he's receiving as a basis to gag Trump, and a ton of other fantastic stuff. That's Rumble. I'll give everybody the locals. I should have made sure that we're good on locals. We're good on locals. Holy cows. We got 176 people watching on locals. That's beautiful. Locals was privy to my activities yesterday. My father, I think, got jealous. The link to locals is there. I think my father got jealous seeing me carrying those 2 beautiful mahi-mahis and having gone fishing with my kids. So he wanted to do what we, could have done more of when we were... that sounded very bitter and resentful. It's not at all. I think my dad got jealous seeing me fish with my kids. So he took me out yesterday and we caught a bunch of mahi-mahi, a few kingfish, and a few tuna that my kid actually ate raw tuna off the fish the same day, and it was delicious. And tonight we're going to have a good barbecue with some fresh mahi-mahi on the grill. All that to say, we're going to go over to Rumble. Right now, the link is pinned in the pinned comment. Please tell me it's pinned in the pinned comment. It is. It is. Okay, good. So come on over to Rumble for the rest of the stream. It's going to be amazing. VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com as well. Ending on YouTube in 5. By the way, before we do that, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. But I'll give my thoughtful Thanksgiving wishes at the end of this stream. But for everybody watching on YouTube, happy Thanksgiving. But come on over to Rumble. 5, 4, 3,